Afternoon, guys. We'll start with the broadcast section with no embargo, followed by an embargoed section for 10:30 p.m. tonight. No live tweeting in the broadcast section, and use the microphone provided. James.
Ange, just straight away, get your reaction to the Europa League draw, a team that you know from the game in October.
Yeah, obviously, familiar opponents. Obviously played them here at home, and obviously watched that game and sort of the Real Sociedad game, knowing that likely opponents. I don't know. If you're late, do we let them in, mate? I don't know. I thought that door bolted. Good game for us. Obviously, excited by seeing the draw today. Did really well. I did really well against Galatasaray. I mean, we played Galatasaray as well away, and that's a tough gig. They're a good side. So, looking forward to it.
If one of your players was late for a meeting, what would be their punishment?
No, they wouldn't be late, mate. They know better than that.
Lesson learned. Before I came in here, I just looked on the bookmakers' websites to check the odds. Who's favourite for the Europa League? Any idea who's top of that list?
Not a betting man, mate. To be fair, I'm not allowed to be either on football, but got no idea, mate.
Bookmakers have Tottenham as favourites for the Europa League. Can you understand why?
Look, what I do know about bookmakers is they're the only ones that make money out of betting, so they must know what they're talking about. So they obviously, if there's some reasoning behind that, but I mean, whether that sort of affects me or not really.
But with the Europa League, look, there's no doubt it's been a difficult season. Last week we saw protests outside. You've had injury after injury after injury. The results have suffered in the Premier League. Recent cup performances haven't gone your way. But there feels like with players coming back, that there is still an opportunity to do something special this season. Is that the message that you remind the players?
Yeah, I don't have to remind them. We've been talking about that all along. And I mean, I know you say last two sort of cup performances ago, but we did get to the semi-final. So, it wasn't like we bombed out of the cups and, we lost to Villa away in the FA Cup. So, but I get from an objectives perspective and sort of tangible what's left in the season. Europe's always been at the forefront of our minds, and we did really well. And we saw how important it was that we did finish in the top 8, even finishing in the top 4, because it kind of helped us this last 2 weeks having 2 games off. So again, we were rewarded for that, and it's important, but not dismissive of the league either. There's still 12, 13 games to go, and from our perspective, we're not happy with where we are in the league, obviously, and our form has been very inconsistent, but there's still an opportunity there to make an impact in the league as well. And the good thing now is we know sort of the program roughly. Irrespective of sort of what happens, there's some natural breaks in there which will help us, I think, particularly as you said with the injured guys coming back. So good sort of opportunity for us.
And let's talk about the injury list, the weekly Tottenham health report. What is the latest? Any new concerns?
No new concerns. Sort of from last week, everyone sort of got through okay. 3 guys who sort of picked a knock up last week were all good. Obviously, again, having a full week to recover and prepare is good. And the other guys are ticking along well. We've got sort of now 2 games in obviously quick succession in the league. Good opportunity for us to get some match minutes into guys who've been out for a while. We saw Brennan and Wilson. Obviously Vic come back last week matters, but Destiny as well. We need to get him some match minutes, and these 2 games will give us an opportunity to do that. And then we've got a week before the sort of first Europa game. We've got the weekend off. So, and again, that's about the time we're hoping that guys like Romero and Mickey in particular, they should be in and around that sort of mark. And Richie and Dom not too far behind, to be honest. So, and again with that, we've got sort of 2 games before the international break, so we're kind of mapping it out and trying to sort of navigate a way where we can have a real sort of as fit and healthy squad as we have all year for the running.
Charlie.
Thanks, mate.
Hi, Ange. It's been 2 straight weeks now where you haven't had that midweek game. So what has that done for your players, not just physically but mentally as well? I know some of them went away outside of the UK at the weekend. What has that done for them, do you think?
Yeah, I think it helps enormously because, I mean, there's obviously the physical toll, which we kind of know, and just their bodies being able to recover as much as anything else. And then, like I said, mentally, it does. It takes its toll because you don't get a lot of time to switch off when you've got games constantly because you're in recovery mode and then you've got to prepare for another game. You don't really have the energy to do anything else, so sort of home life probably suffers a fair bit, and the ability to switch off is difficult. So we gave the boys 2 days off at the beginning of last week. We did a similar thing this week, and I think you can see that in them that both physically and mentally they've really benefited from it, and sort of hopefully now it means that the remnants of that long run has sort of dissipated in their minds as much as in their bodies. But it's also allowed us then to really train well because they when they do come back in, they're refreshed, they feel good, and it means our training has become so much more sort of meaningful in the last 2 weeks.
In terms of your opponents next, it's Ipswich away tomorrow. Obviously, you lost that reverse game back in November. What do you think you can take away from that game in particular going into tomorrow's one, or do you just feel it will be a completely different match? No,
you take away things. They're a hard-working team. They're very well organised. They kind of managed the game really well against us. They obviously scored and got ahead, and we found it really hard then to sort of we had our moments to get back in the game, but we couldn't. So it's really important that we kind of don't allow that to happen again. Like I said, we know they're going to work hard, they're going to be well organised, they're going to fight for everything, so we've got to be in a mindset to match that, and at the same time still play our football. I think that's important. As I said last week, it was important we won, and we played well, but I think there was areas we know we can be better, and that's the opportunity for us tomorrow.
How big an opportunity is this weekend for your team to get that momentum, if they can win, to finally try and get back on track and gain some consistency?
Yeah, look, that's the opportunity that does exist. We've obviously our last 2 sort of Premier League games, Brentford away and Man United at home, have been 2 important results for us to kind of try and arrest the form in the league. But you need to keep doing that and backing that up, and tomorrow's an opportunity to do that. It's not easy when you're playing away from home and in the Premier League, and especially against a team that's fighting like Ipswich are. So we know it's not going to be an easy one, but it is. It's an opportunity for us now to get another strong performance, get another positive result, and like I said, hopefully provide a bit of a sort of foundation for us to kick on. Thanks.
Hi Ange, hope you're well. Last time I saw you a couple of weeks ago, it was just as some of the players were starting to come back, and I asked you how you were feeling, whether you could see the light at the end of the tunnel, and you said, every time I've seen the light at the end of the tunnel, I've been hit by an oncoming train. So now that
I didn't say I got hit. I haven't been hit, but it felt like it. You went viral with a good question, mate. Well done.
But now you've had a couple of players coming back into the team, and you've got back-to-back league wins and clean sheets. Where's your head at now in terms of the squad and how you've been doing?
Yeah, look, I think, as I said, for us, it's been kind of. It's not just the guys coming back from injury, which are important, but they need time to sort of get up to speed. But it's just the ability for the existing guys to also recover. I mean, it wasn't just the injuries that affected us; it was the volume of games. Like if we weren't in the League Cup or the Carabao Cup, or if we weren't in Europe, and even with the players we had, if we had sort of one game a week, you'd still be able to manage it better. So. It's been hugely beneficial the last 2 weeks that, yes, we've got some significant players back, and we saw the benefit of that with Vic and Matters last week, and Brennan and Wilson being able to help. But it's also, guys like, Kulusevski and Archie and Jed and all these other players, Rodrigo, who've been playing so much football, their ability to rest, recover. So, from that point of view, we're obviously in a much better place. We kind of knew the Villa game was the finish line for us in terms of where we were heading. yeah, I think we benefited from last week. Hopefully we do the same thing this week.
And you were asked a lot about James Maddison's performance last week, and in a couple of weeks' time, Thomas Tuchel names his first England squad, and James hasn't been involved in that England squad for some time now. What has he got to do to get himself back into that team, into the national team?
Oh, look, I mean, that's Thomas' kind of decision. I think what's important for us is that, you know, we keep Matt as healthy as possible, because we know when he's, you know, in good physical condition, he's really important for us. We saw that last week. He kind of has a real ability to you know, make things happen, you know, in tight areas, score goals, assist goals. So that's where our focus, I think that's where Matt's focus is. You know, he just wants to stay healthy. He's obviously had a little bit of a disruption in recent times, and you know, if he plays well, like things like international honours tend to just sort of flow on from there.
And lastly, I wanted to ask you about Matthias Tell and his performances since coming into the side. And what have you made of his start to life as a Tottenham player?
Yeah, really positive. Really, I was happy to get him in. And again, for a young man who hasn't played a lot recently, obviously that was one of the reasons he was looking to kind of move to get more opportunities. I think, you know, I've kind of kept him out there for 90 minutes for both games, just to build him up physically as much as anything else. But he's a willing worker, which is brilliant. You know, we've seen in both games he really works as hard as he can for the team, which is massive for us. And you know, the more he plays, the more he'll get into the rhythm of how we play, and even for himself as a striker, I think, you know, he needs the games to get up to speed. But yeah, he's done really well for us. Hugely important. And, you know, hopefully with Dom not too far away, Richie not too far away, we'll have some real good options in that front third. Thanks, mate.
Hi, Ange. Having normal training sessions again, which you were just speaking about, how much does that kind of fire up the coaching side of your brain? You've obviously had the management side and getting players through this period, but to actually get out there properly in high-intensity coaching? Yeah,
look, it's, you know, I think there's two aspects of my role that you love more than most. One is game day and the other one is training, you know. This ranks a bit lower down, to be fair, this part of the job. You know, so having the ability, and you kind of get frustrated when you're out there and you can't really do what you want to do as a coach. Not just me, the other coaches as well. You just kind of design sessions, but you know, guys are going to sort of be, you know, walking through things, and we're just trying to provide information. Whereas, you know, the last 2 weeks, the training sessions, you kind of walk off and you're pretty excited about what you've seen. You feel good about, you know, the session you've put on, and the coaches get a buzz out of it, the players get a buzz out of it. So yeah, it's been good to be able to do that.
And Pedro Porro and Dejan Kulusevski have played the most by far for you this season. Are they still in that zone where they could probably do with a game off at some point? Yeah,
I think so. Like I said, these next 2 games are a good opportunity for us. Obviously, you know, we've got Saturday and then we've got City midweek with then a week off. So I think these next 2 games, you know, it was great to give Archie just, you know, a moment to have a breather, even though we had to sort of put him on the end last week, because he's another one who's kind of racked up the minutes. But you're right, Pedro, you know, Kulusevski, you know, these kind of guys, we've got an opportunity with the players we've got back to still maintain good levels of performance, but also not, you know, give them a little bit of a rest. Because again, you know, once Europe kicks in, then we know we've got to play midweek, weekend again. So we want to make sure we've got enough in the tank, and we don't want to lose any players during this period either.
So players like Destiny and Brendan Johnson, are they in a position where they can start matches now?
Potentially, yeah. Whether it's tomorrow or Wednesday, definitely I think both, particularly both of them, need to sort of start getting their match minutes up. Wilson as well, but Wilson probably, you know, he's out the longest, so will be a little bit of a slower burner with him. But again, to play and play significant minutes is important. But in terms of starting, I think both Brendan and Destiny, whether it's tomorrow or Wednesday, we'd be certainly looking to get them involved.
Just very quickly on Archie Gray, obviously he's kind of been your Mr. Fix-It, like been in so many different positions. When do you envisage maybe being able to give him kind of a chance in midfield at some point? I know that...
the way it's going, never, mate. You know, I was tempted to put him in goal because we were down our 5th goalkeeper. But no, look, I think whatever happens, and I know people are sort of really keen to sort of put him in there, I think the experience he's had this year is going to be outstanding for him and outstanding for us. You know, he's taken on every challenge we've thrown at him, not flustered, got on with it. performed at a really good level, contributed to the team, all as an 18-year-old in his first year in the Premier League. You know, he'll get to where he needs to get to in good time, but this period here, I think, you know, is going to be enormously beneficial for him.
Finish with George, please.
And sort of going back onto Archie, I feel like at the start of the season, kind of Archie and Lucas and maybe Jed Spence all kind of had to prove they were kind of good enough to play in the Premier League and get regular minutes, which they have done over the last 2 months. How much of a difference does that make when you go into this sort of week where you got 2 games in 4 days and you know that those 3 guys can come in and the level shouldn't drop anymore?
Yeah, massive. You know, I think I was consistent in saying that even through the most difficult period, I still felt we were getting growth, you know, and they're the kind of guys you go, you know, there is been so much growth in them. And I think you saw, even with Lucas last week, you know, he's becoming a man, you know, before our eyes, really. You know, he's not really, though you look at him now, and I know he's just turned 19, but he doesn't look like a young player anymore, you know, and I think that's because of the experience he's had in recent times where we've just had to throw him in and he's had to do jobs for us and make an impact. So I think, you know, him and Archie and you know, like I said, Jed's been brilliant in terms of the way he's come in. And the thing is with it, they're not just playing, they're actually, you know, making an impact. You know, they're really contributing, and that's great for us, as you said, with the period coming up, because, you know, hopefully with guys like Destiny back and, you know, obviously Mickey and Romero not too far away, and it just gives us some real strength in squad that we're going to need if we're going to compete Europa and League. We're going to need, we've already seen sort of the attrition rate, we're going to need a strong squad, so those guys are certainly going to be beneficial.
And kind of how difficult was it those first few months of the season where I guess people like Archie and Lucas maybe didn't feel if they were ready to be thrown into Premier League games, and you were having to go with, I guess, kind of 17 or 18, and then when you get a few injuries, it kind of, that rotation is hard to do when you need to for the Premier League games?
Sorry, mate, say that again. You lost me after.
The first few months of the season, how difficult was it kind of only having, I guess, 17 or 18 that you could really trust in the Premier League? Because I guess Lucas and Archie got minutes in the Europa League.
I'm not sure about trust, but I mean, I thought, I really thought that guys like, you know, Lucas and Archie could definitely contribute. That's why we kept them. We kind of made a decision, well, because there was an option, particularly with Lucas, to loan him out. But I really felt, you know, working through pre-season, that him and Lucas could definitely contribute to us. And the same with Jed. I think with Jed, it was just, you know, we wanted to give Jed every opportunity. And, you know, we knew that certainly there was a player there, but a lot of it had to be up to Jed himself. And he's just worked really awfully hard and stayed patient through that early period. You know, could have been easy for him to get frustrated. He wasn't playing a lot. There was opportunities for him to play. He wasn't getting a run. And I think looking at his attitude through that, I think there was real growth for him personally in that, you know, maybe in previous years he might have sort of given up the fight and said, you know, right, I don't fit in here, let's just move on. But he kept going, and that makes an impression on people around him, his teammates, and, you know, he earned his shot at it, and he's just grown since then.
And just finally, I think you mentioned last week that Christian Romero had a scan coming up. Has he had that? And is that? Yeah,
he's had that, and it's going well. He's in a good place. So, like I said, with him and Mickey, it's just picking our moment now. I'm really keen to get him back and have him back for the rest of the year. You know, and you know, we've got a really good sort of period coming up where I think we can manage that, where, you know, they're back, they've had good weeks of training with us, so that when they do come back in, they're in a good place. So yeah, he's still going well.
Okay, we'll end the broadcast section there. Move on to the embargo section for 10:30 p.m. tonight. Dan? And
what you're saying there, I think he's taken kind of some of us by surprise, really, how comfortable he's looked at the Premier League level. I mean, has it surprised you at all?
To a certain extent, although I've always felt with these kind of things, I've always kept an open mind about these things, because I think there's obviously a player there that there was never any doubt about that. Now, why it hadn't worked out, you always try and figure out, well, there must be a reason. And I never felt that, tell you what, walking out of my meetings is even worse than turning up late. Who was that? I didn't see him, but ban him. So I don't know if it's a surprise, but it's a credit to him. Like I said, I made it difficult for him, to be fair. I didn't make it easy for him. It's not like I said to him, Jed, you're here, we love you, stay. I purposely made it difficult for him because I thought that was going to be the test. To see, like I said earlier in the year, when he wasn't playing and wasn't part of squads, how was his training? How was he reacting to things? And he never got disengaged. He was always engaged, and they made an impression on everyone. Me, like I said, coaches, his teammates, and I think from then on, it's just been all about him. He's the one that's kind of, all I did was sort of, okay, well, you've earned a shot at it. Here it is, and he's been brilliant. And like I said, there's a player there. Sometimes it just needs certain things to click into gear. And what I found with a lot of players, it just, the penny drops at different times for different players. Some of them it drops at 18, others it drops a bit later in there, where they realise, okay, well, this is what I have to do to get the most out of my career. And it's a credit to him because he's an outstanding player. Like I said, I'm super pleased that we kind of, we kind of still got him in the building because, again, it would have been very easy and another sliding doors moment for him to be sort of playing elsewhere.
It sounds like you felt like he needed some tough love then.
I don't know if he needed, but you like I said, you try different things, and you want to try and get the best out of players, and or at least not the best out of them, but try and get them to be the best that they can be for themselves, the best version of themselves. So you try different things, and it wasn't just tough love, because I think that probably doesn't work with Jed either, because he's probably had that at some of his previous sort of experiences and hasn't worked out well. It was, I never sort of made it purposely tough for him. Like I was certainly, me and the other guys were very encouraging of him, but I wasn't going to give him the opportunity to play. I guess that's a bit I was going to hold back for as long as possible, just to really test out, how much he really wanted it and what he was prepared to do to get that opportunity.
He seems like an interesting character, kind of very laid back and unfazed by.
They all are, mate. They all are. They're, and I've come to understand that they're all kind of different cats, and you got to roll with it, mate. Jesus, some terminology I'm using now. I've gone back to the '60s, showing my age. It's just, like I said, it's just the way of the world, and I've learned to really embrace that side. Definitely when I was a younger manager, and I think it was the time you wanted your cookie cutter model of players. This is how they are. They come in, they do their business. Everyone's got a great attitude. They dress really well. They speak really well. They're all sort of prim and proper. And you go through that phase, but then life teaches you that, what, people are different and they should be allowed to be different. And as long as they're kind of contributing and they've got real good values and kind of respect the environment, the people around them, then let them be who they are. And it's liberating, mate, because it's less stress for me, because I'm very, very less judgmental than I used to be when I was a younger manager.
Well, to what extent is that a challenge then? Because one of the things you sometimes hear about more experienced managers is that they can't connect with the dressing room anymore.
Yeah.
They've lost that link with the players. I'm not for a minute suggesting that, but to what extent is that?
Yeah, I'm a cool cat. Yeah. No, look, it is important, but I think I'm never going to be able to sort of connect with, something that's a couple of generations away in terms of, not in terms of kind of from a sort of a relationship between, as a manager and as a player. I think if you have an acceptance, and I've, because of my experience, it hasn't been just different personalities, but different cultures, Culturally, I've had to sort of go into different cultures and understand how people live their lives differently, and the way they think. And so, like I said, for me, it's I found it that it's really important that you kind of embrace that side of, understand that side of it, go with it with many respects. But there's never going to be I'm never the bane of my existence at the moment is I hate to go into the Premier League grounds where I have to sit in the dressing room because the music they play, mate, it just drives me nuts. So if I can't find a quiet corner, it drives me bananas that they listen to that stuff. But so I'm never going to be on their level. But in terms of that human connection, I think once players feel comfortable that they can be themselves, I think it helps.
And just final one back to Jed. Obviously, with the England squad coming up, we might be talking about him as well, especially as England need a left back in the league. Do you think he's ready for that challenge, that level?
Look, I don't like talking about national team representation because it's a different model, but he's fair to say, I think, in terms of fullbacks, in recent times, his form's as good as anybody's, I think. And don't forget, he's not really a left back; he's a right back. So, but I think the ability for him to play on the left hand side is very, very useful. But yeah, in terms of, like I said, fullbacks and form in the league over the last sort of 2 or 3 months, I think he'd be up there.
The final one from me. I mean, if you had
that's a third final one. Everyone's picked that up. There you go.
Is it anyone else?
No.
I mean, if you had a final tomorrow, the Europa League final tomorrow, would you know your best team?
If I had it tomorrow, yeah, of course I would. But it's not tomorrow. So I know a team for Ipswich tomorrow, but that's where it ends. Yeah. And another final one. Yeah.
Okay, I think you got where I was going with that.
Yeah, I understand your question, but I mean, I think that all those things are kind of snapshots in time. Like if you're saying, well, if we had the Premier League, well, obviously Romero's not fit, Van der Ven's not fit, Solanke's not fit, but they could be fit for if we get to the final. So I don't think about it that way.
Thanks.
Tom.
Pick up on Dan's one of his questions, about Jed. I know you don't want to talk about picking players for the national team for obvious reasons, but one of the things we've been most impressed with him is how unfazed he seemed against anyone, Salah, whoever. If you were given the chance for England, do you think it would faze him?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think that's where, Dan was talking about his sort of personality. He's got a really laid-back personality. I think that sometimes that can work against him when people's perception of him is, he's laid back. Does that mean he's not driven or, he's not really that committed to things? And I think sometimes that gives a false impression. But that laid back nature also means that, he's not going to be fazed by anything that's thrown at him. So it kind of works both ways. What some people see as maybe a weakness in him, that he looks a bit too casual with, not on game day, I think, but in terms of his general demeanour. I think come game day, I think he's not fazed by any sort of challenges thrown to him. And I think that's partly why he's kind of done really well since he's been thrown in, is that, I think even for him, I think he's had some difficult experiences, but that's what life's about. Those difficult experiences can actually help you, because, he's played in Italy, he's played in France, he's been challenged, he's played in the Championship. So I'm sure he's taken those things along, even though they haven't been positive, and said, well, okay, what have I got to fear here? Nothing really to fear. And I think he takes that into games.
I don't know where you are of this, but your critics with Jed specifically suggest him coming into the team has been almost through circumstance because of the injury that you've had, but you've just explained your whole process with him.
But they won't change their mind, mate.
Well, no,
every right decision I make is an accident, and every mistake I make is deliberate.
Well, I was going to say, without patting yourself on the back, I suppose. It is more. There's been a sort of method with him.
Of course there is, yeah, and I'm proud of that. Not for me, but for us as a club and for the coaching group, that we kind of thought, there's something there, because there's plenty of evidence for us not to go down that track. I mean, we're talking about. We're in the Premier League here. We can't take too many gambles with what we do. So you've got to be really sort of have a clear understanding about what the road ahead was. And 99.9% of it is Jed. Yeah, he's the one that's because all I can do is kind of open that door, like I said, give him the opportunity. So that's him. But that 0.1% I think is us. Getting him to that position where he feels like, okay, I can sort of. Like I said, give the best version of myself here. I can prove that I belong here, and the credit lies with him, and the beneficiaries are the football club, us, but for him as well, the challenge now is, don't settle for that. You know, don't settle for where he's at now. Push on. You know, there's no reason why he can't. He can be a top player, and I mean, he's already at a great level. But don't settle for that. And my role, and you know, for all of us here, is to make sure that we keep pushing him on.
I want to ask you about Wilson over there, because he's someone that has become the forgotten man to some extent because of his injuries. But when he signed, you played him straight away. You threw him straight into. Based on that, it was clear how much you rated him right from the off, despite only being 19. I mean, how much this season, obviously, had injuries to lots of players, but that particular loss, has that been sort of forgotten about and glossed over how key it's been to your career?
Yeah, I don't know about key, but it is disappointing because I'm genuinely excited about Wilson's potential as a footballer. You know, he's got a really unique qualities that are really exciting to see how they develop, and particularly in the way we want to play. He's the kind of he's the one player that's a little bit different from the others in terms of our attacking players. In that, that dribbling capacity he has, it's hard to find. And he has that, and he kind of enjoys that part of the game. So, he hasn't really. Yeah, I mean, he was a new signing, but we haven't really seen him yet. So, but even with him, there's still an opportunity there to sort of make an impact this year. Like I said, we'll be careful with him in terms of the way we reintegrate him. But a good chunk of the season left, some important games where I think, hopefully, he finishes the season strong, and then next year, I think he'll be. I think he'll make a real big impact, not just with us, but in the league.
I just wonder, you've got that free weekend.
Yes, I do.
Are you thinking of doing any warm weather training?
I might do it myself, but the team, not the training bit, but the warm weather. No, the plan at the moment is to. Obviously, we know now the kind of the draw we got. We'll obviously have to go to Holland midweek straight after that weekend. So, plan is to sort of train. Not both days, one day on that weekend, and just sort of have a normal lead into AZ.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.